Welcome to day 59 of Not Alone Today chronological Bible reading plan with Joseph and Anu. We'll be reading Deuteronomy 26 to 27 today using the English Standard Version.
Chapter 26. When you come into the land that the Lord your God is giving you for an inheritance and have taken possession of it and live in it, you shall take some of the first of all the fruit of the ground, which you harvest from your land that the Lord your God is giving you, and you shall put it in a basket. And you shall go to the place that the Lord your God will choose to make his name to dwell there. And you shall go to the priest who is in office at that time and say to him, I declare today to the Lord your God that I have come into the land that the Lord swore to our fathers to give us. Then the priest shall take the basket from your hand and set it down before the altar of the Lord your God.
And you shall make response before the Lord your God. A wandering Aramean was my father, and he went down into Egypt and sojourned there, few in number, and there he became a nation great, mighty, and populous. And the Egyptians treated us harshly and humiliated us, and laid on us hard labor. Then we cried to the Lord, the God of our fathers, and the Lord heard our voice and saw our affliction, our toil, and our oppression. And the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, with great deeds of terror, with signs and wonders. And he brought us into this place and gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And behold, now I bring the first of the fruit of the ground, which you, O Lord, have given me. And you shall set it down before the Lord your God, and worship the Lord your God. And you shall rejoice in all the good that the Lord your God has given to you and to your house, you and the Levite and the sojourner who is among you.
When you have finished paying all the tithes of your produce in the third year, which is the year of tithing, giving it to the Levites, the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow, so that they may eat within your towns and be filled. Then you shall say before the Lord your God, I have removed the sacred portion out of my house, and moreover I have given it to the Levites, the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow, according to all your commandments that you have commanded me. I have not transgressed any of your commandments, nor have I forgotten them. I have not eaten of the tithe while I was mourning, or removed any of it while I was unclean, or offered any of it to the dead. I have obeyed the voice of the Lord my God. I have done according to all that you have commanded me. Look down from your holy habitation, from heaven, and bless your people, Israel, and the ground that you have given us, as you saw to our fathers, a land flowing with milk and honey.
This day the Lord your God commands you to do these statutes and rules. You shall therefore be careful to do them with all your heart and with all your soul. You have declared today that the Lord is your God, and that you will walk in his ways and keep his statutes and his commandments and his rules, and will obey his voice. And the Lord has declared today that you are a people for his treasured possession, as he has promised you, and that you are to keep all his commandments, and that it will set you in praise and in fame and in honor high above all nations that he has made, and that you shall be a people holy to the Lord your God, as he promised.
Chapter 27. Now Moses and the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, Keep the whole commandments that I command you today. And on the day you cross over the Jordan to the land that the Lord your God is giving you, you shall set up large stones and plaster them with plaster, and you shall write on them all the words of this law. When you cross over to enter the land that the Lord your God is giving you, a land flowing with milk and honey, as the Lord, the God of your fathers, has promised you. And when you have crossed over the Jordan, you shall set up these stones, concerning which I command you today, on Mount Ebal, and you shall plaster them with plaster. And there you shall build an altar to the Lord your God, an altar of stones. You shall wield no iron tool on them. You shall build an altar to the Lord your God of uncut stones, and you shall offer burnt offerings on it to the Lord your God. And you shall sacrifice peace offerings, and shall eat there. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God. And you shall write on the stones all the words of this law very plainly.
Then Moses and the Levitical priests said to all Israel, "Keep silence and hear, O Israel. This day you have become the people of the Lord your God. You shall therefore obey the voice of the Lord your God, keeping his commandments and his statutes, which I command you today."
That day Moses charged the people, saying, "When you have crossed over the Jordan, this shall stand on Mount Gerizim to bless the people: Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Joseph, and Benjamin. And these shall stand on Mount Ebal for the curse: Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. And the Levites shall declare to all the men of Israel in a loud voice,
Cursed be the man who makes a carved or a cast metal image, an abomination to the Lord, a thing made by the hands of a craftsman, and sets it up in secret. And all the people shall answer and say, Amen.
Cursed be anyone who dishonors his father or his mother. And all the people shall say, Amen.
Cursed be anyone who moves his neighbor's landmark. And all the people shall say, Amen.
Cursed be anyone who misleads a blind man on the road. And all the people shall say, Amen.
Cursed be anyone who perverts the justice due to the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow. And all the people shall say, Amen.
Cursed be anyone who lies with his father's wife, because he has uncovered his father's nakedness. And all the people shall say, Amen.
Cursed be anyone who lies with any kind of animal. And all the people shall say, Amen.
Cursed be anyone who lies with his sister, whether the daughter of his father or the daughter of his mother. And all the people shall say, Amen.
Cursed be anyone who lies with his mother-in-law. And all the people shall say, Amen.
Cursed be anyone who strikes down his neighbor in secret. And all the people shall say, Amen.
Cursed be anyone who takes a bribe to shed innocent blood. And all the people shall say, Amen.
Cursed be anyone who does not confirm the words of this law by doing them. And all the people shall say, Amen. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Just a summary of the two chapters we've read today. First, in chapter 26, we read about the offerings of firstfruits and tithes. And God told the Israelites the wording they should use as a response when they bring their firstfruits to Him. In chapter 27, Moses gave instructions to the Israelites on what they would do when they get to the land God is giving them, a land flowing with milk and honey. And then the latter part of chapter 27 was about the curses from Mount Ebal. It was as though the curses were pulled from some of the commandments. What would happen when they don't do what God has said? So we're just going to discuss what stood out to us. Did anything stand out to you in chapter 26, my love?
Yes, in chapter 26, I'm struck at the fact that it's not enough to just bring your first fruits or your offerings before God. There is also this stipulated things you have to say. And those things are not just mere words. It's a recap of their journey. And so the thing that stood out to me there in terms of like a life application is the importance of reflection, constantly reminding ourselves where we were, where we are heading to, and how God has been faithful through it all. We take it for granted very easily. Of course, we go to church, somewhere in the back of our mind we believe, yes, God, you deserve it all. But really, are we conscious of the journey He has brought us through, or the journey we are on, and the things He has brought us through in the past? Of course, we know where we are headed. Someone says, if the devil is trying to remind you of your past, remind him of his future. His future is perishing, is destruction. Our future is with God Himself, is to dwell with Him forever. It doesn't get more glorious than that.
True.
And so just keeping that in mind, right front and center in our minds is going to be very helpful. Yeah.
So what stood out to me is the first fruit
Okay.
and how it is to be brought to God. Like from verse 5 to 11, talked about the response that comes with the first fruits. And I found that very instructive in that before we give our offerings to God, we remind ourselves where we've come from and why we're doing it. And as such, it doesn't become, it's not an exchange as such as I have learned offerings to be. Like I'm giving you my offering, you have to bless me back. But it's more that you have blessed me. And now I'm bringing this mite, this little one that I have, back to your house as an offering of the first fruits of my ground that you have given me. So it's quite good to know that it's not a bargain, but a gratitude. It's an effort to show gratitude, to say, you did this, so thank you. That was really instructive for me.
Yeah. Just recently, there was someone that asked me about the doctrine of first fruits. So now, like, based on passages like this, there are churches that actually do have a practice of what is called first fruits. And he wanted to understand, a biblical way to think about it in light of the fact that many of these laws don't necessarily apply to us the same way it did to them. And I took him back to that principle. It's the principle here, be it with tithing on a weekly basis or in a monthly basis, or bringing our offerings before God again on a weekly basis when we gather before. Every time we gather before God, he says, don't come before me empty-handed. The principle continues to be to acknowledge God as the source of all that we have, and there is the need to express that. We can't just say God is first in my heart and God sees my heart. There is no resultant effect of that in terms of our praxis, what we do as believers. And so that's where I think we should lay the emphasis. But what would that look like for each believer? Might differ from tradition to tradition, from culture to culture, denomination to denomination, and even individual to individual in terms of your personal consecration rights before God. But the principle should not be lost, whether we are bringing our tithes before God, or you have something you do at the start of every new year. In some context, they will say, bring your entire salary in January as the first fruit. And again, we're going to see later on the language of the first fruits of your increase, in which case, all these things have now been interpreted in our context and our day and time in terms of finance, monetarily, when, of course, for these people, it is food, it's harvest, it's agricultural produce and all that. So again, first fruit of increase, some would say, when your salary has increased, the first time that you are receiving an increased version of that salary, bring that amount that has increased to God. Again, if that's what you want to do in terms of your own personal belief and expression of God being your source and being the source of your promotion that has brought the increase, why not if not? But that fundamental principle, we must embody it. We don't want to dismiss that under the guise of, this doesn't apply to us. This is Old Testament. This is Israel. The principle remains the same. Let's come before God and bring our best to Him.
Yes.
Chapter 27, what stood out to you?
What stood out to me was how that the people are meant to say amen to the curses. Like, I don't know, if I were to be there,
You won't say amen.
I would just be mumbling something. Because I know that it's possible that I might do these things. So I'm invariably cursing myself. So I'll be like, I might even raise up my hand and say, excuse me, sir. Is it possible not to say amen or to say maybe?
Unfortunately, covenants don't work like that, do they?
They don't.
So this is part of them entering into a covenant with God. And He's promising to... I like that some of the curses came first, and then we'll flip the page on day 60, we read Deuteronomy 28. All of us like the first 14 verses. Blessed shall you be in the blessed shall you. And then you move on to verse 15, and then the curses continue. And I think they're even longer, plentier than the blessings. But it's to remind us of what we are getting into when we say we are in a relationship with God. It's not something to take for granted, and even under grace, as it were, which is the dispensation we are in. We're in the church age. Jesus has come and died and resurrected and brought us into God's family, and he has become the curse for us so that we can enjoy the blessings. But that does not go without responsibilities. And that's really the real balance. If you're hiding under, I'm saved, and once I'm saved, it's all good. I'm always saved no matter what I do. The evidence, by their fruits we shall know them, Jesus says. So those fruits include these things that curses are being pronounced upon. Of course, in our context, we are not cursed because Jesus has become the curse for us. Be that as it may, it's an invitation to then continue to be this kind of people who does not dishonor their father and mother, does not remove their neighbor's landmark, does not mislead a blind man on the road, and etc., etc.
And in retrospect, again, my analogy was if I were to be in this gathering, and I know that it's a covenant, that I must say the amen to these curses, I think it would make me sit up more.
Indeed.
Because obviously, since I'm aware of the things I've said about what will happen to me if I do them, I'll be more aware of these things. I won't gloss over it, like you said, Kola, earlier, where we just gloss over things. It will be forefront in my mind. When I see a blind man, like, nah, I'm not misleading this one. I am not moving my neighbor's landmark. I'm not perverting the course of justice. So it reads well to know that it is there for a purpose.
Indeed.
And it is there to help us to help the Israelites and us to be accountable to the things we've professed to be committed to. Because throughout this chapter, there's a repeated reminder that the people should not forget the covenant and the commandments they have chosen to obey. And then it led to this saying amen to these curses. So it does, it's very sound.
Indeed. And that's a good point to wrap it up. May the Lord help us.
Amen.
So thank you for joining us for day 59 in the journey so far. Tomorrow, day 60, will be 3 months into the journey, and we continue to forge ahead one day at a time. But till then, just remember, you are not alone.
Today.
God bless you.
God bless you.